to raise funds for more of this activity. The more comments and the more feedback we have when we go for our next round of funding, these are literally the quotes that we use. If we don't have quotes, we have nothing to put in our funding applications and we don't get any funding. So it's super pivotal that you do this. If you can possibly bring yourself to spend a couple of minutes, that would be great. What else? So there is a practical thing. There is a quiet room upstairs on the first floor, should you need that. It's on the first floor to the left. If you want to use that, please do feel free to speak to one of the DM staff. We're mostly wearing these grey t-shirts, and we can show you the way. And I think that's, have I forgotten anything? Megan, yes, no, good, thumbs up, that's it, that's the practical stuff. So this afternoon we have 3 presentations, each quite different, but each shows a kind of different aspects of the stuff that goes on in DMLab. We're going to start off with Cheryl Hui, who works with Joy of Sound, and Cheryl is, every year we have seed funding, project seed funding bursaries that we give out to projects, early stage projects, so early stage prototypes. It can be really difficult when you've got a really cool idea and you've maybe used your Arduino to build something fun, but it can cost quite a lot of money to then take it on to the next stage of development. And so we have these small pots of funds available. So somebody who has a really strong idea, but maybe doesn't have the money to take it on to that next level, that's what that money is for, because actually the kind of grassroots making, that's where loads of the really good ideas come from. And we're really keen to make sure that those ideas end up with the people who need them. And this is a kind of beginning way to start doing that. So without further ado, I'll welcome Cheryl to the stage.
So, hi everyone, I'm Cheryl. And then, great thank you to Drake Music and also Joy of Sound, who participates in this co-design project. Can I get the slides going? So can we have the, Yes. Okay. So let me talk a bit about myself. So I was trained to be a classical musician, nothing to do with electronics. And then when I moved to the UK, I studied computational arts at Goldsmiths. That's where I started building musical instruments. At the very beginning, I was building musical instruments that focusing on talking about meditation and how we can facilitate that, and also lowering the learning curve of musical instrument playing. The reason behind it is when I was trained to be a classical musician, it took me 10 years to start realizing playing the piano is quite fun. Because at the very beginning, you need to train to control all your muscle. That is one of the hardest part. For me, it's physically abled, physically well, it's already difficult. How about for people who have disabilities or different abilities? That may be making them lose interest in learning a musical instrument before they start to enjoy playing it. That's why I start to have the idea to, how about if we try to lower the learning curve of a musical instrument? Will that be helpful for people to enjoy music playing? So after receiving the funding from Drake, before that, I started being a volunteer at the Joy of Sound. And that is a local charity which always organizes music workshop. So in their music workshop, they actually have different people in there. So maybe minorities, people with disabilities, and you can meet any kinds of people there. But at the end of the day, we just want to enjoy music playing. We want to promote music playing and allow people to have fun during at least that hour. So that is my collaborator. And then I'm so thankful when I talk to them, because Chris is here today, one of the trustees. When I talk to them, they allowed me to do this project with them. So that is how we begin our project. And let's talk about the workshop structure. So every time we sit in a circle, the first thing that we are sharing is a sign of silence. So with this sign, we are telling everyone that we are all equal, regardless of your ability. So I think this one is a very good movement, because in the end of the day, we are all just humans. So there's nothing different. We all got different abilities. So that is the first thing that we do. And then for every workshops, we have the facilitators, and then we also got the support workers. So what we usually do is, if someone who have disabilities and unable to move freely to express their rhythm or sing the melodies, we will try to grab their micro gesture and then interpret it into musical elements. So here is the thing, because through all this interpretation, we are not exactly getting what the person really wants to express. So that is also something that I'm starting to think about. Can we build musical instruments that allow people who may not able to move smoothly to join this collaborative music workshop? So, and also one of the things that they focus a lot is, at the end of the day, we are playing music. We want this workshop to be fun instead of a research thing. So that is something very important, because music making is always about fun. So centering the participants is our focus as well. And at the very beginning, I remember I saw one of the participants who can't walk, who can't control his muscle freely, but he loved to walk around in every session. But most of the musical instrument that we have is, for example, that is an augmented guitar. So we still need to pluck the strings. So which this kind of control is kind of impossible for this particular participant, because the fine motor muscle is hard. And then also he loved to stomp around, to explore the venue. That's why I start to think about, how about if we build something that he can stomp on, maybe a music mat. So that is the beginning of the whole idea. And then when we are exploring this, then I just start to realize, when we are talking about ADMI, most of the time, human-centered instrument focus on that particular participant. So that is something that I start to think about. Is that a way we can start to build a system which we can fit more people in? Of course, it's hard because everyone's ability is different. So I start to think about, although it sounds really idealistic, how about let's just try it? At least build a little bit of foundation, which allows us to add different things onto it or modulate it quicker. Because inside the music workshop, the support workers need to set up musical instruments for all the participants. So the setup time is definitely something we need to think about as well. So yeah, based on the idea of want everyone to enjoy music making, trying to think about, can we build a system for everyone to try to fit in? So that is kind of the ultimate goal of this project. And without the co-design team, it can't happen. So I'm just the person who draw all those graphs and then do all those 3D printing or fabrication. But actually, the most important people inside the design team is the participants. Without them, it just won't work. So at this stage, I'm still trying to get consent from nonverbal participants because it's hard. But eventually, I'm sure we will get there. But during the time of this project, we are working with verbal participants from Joy of Sound. They express their needs, what they want it sounds like. And then also from the help with the support workers, facilitators, because some of them is occupational therapists, so they have idea how to make the musical instrument fit to the participants. Although it's not the most ideal case, because it's still through proxies, but we are working along the way. And some of the concerns with the co-design team, we think about safety, reliability, and logistics, just as I mentioned before, like we've got so many participants set up this time. So we want to make sure things can set up like within 1 minute, 2 minutes. And then also hygiene, that's why all the things you can just spray alcohol onto it, just wipe it off, and then it's good to go for the next participant. And then also the haptic feedback. This part is very important, especially for people with different disabilities. The feedback loop is very important, and then we will just talk about it a bit later. And modular. That is the main idea of this musical system in order to make it try to fit more people into it. So a little bit about the timeline. So at the very beginning, I was just volunteering. That is the point that I start to think about and reflect on musical instrument playing, start to realize it's really difficult. It's especially for people who may have cerebral palsy. They may not able to control their muscle. They got involuntary movements. And then last year, I secured funding from Drake. Thank you again. And then I start off with trying some e-test style, which I have experienced in it before. However, it may not be the best idea because, first of all, it's hard for us to clean it every single time after the workshop. And also, some of them may not love to have the fabric onto them. So that's why we decided to build something having this physical outlook and then allowing them to try to interact with it when they want to. So in the end, we are trying to give them their autonomy to choose whether they want to play the musical instrument or not. So yeah, and then we have some testing loop happening. I create something, give it back to Joy of Sound during workshops, and then the support workers, facilitators give me feedback on, oh, maybe we want something like this. Maybe we just want to have more different feedback loop to help people to play around with it. And then, yeah, and then for now, it's like, I guess my third prototype. And then we've got some new modules that is building. So it's all about the, the whole thing. And then we've got a little bit of the physical part and also the technical part of this musical instrument. Basically, you can get everything from the internet or from hardware shop. The reason behind is I don't want it to be black box technology. I want everyone to be able to build it easily. And also, because of all this setting, I want to make sure that all the support workers or facilitators who have like little idea about technology can still fix it when there is a problem, because all the parts is not very fancy parts. So yeah, so that is the key. So the whole thing is built for you to tear apart. So basically, you can tear things apart, remove it, and then you can change to other infill percentage to change the resistance of the whole thing. And then if the sensor doesn't work, you can just change to another one. So everything is actually removable, though it just looks quite fragile for the moment. Actually, we're building different things to hold it inside, make it more enclosed. But at the same time, still, you can just remove it, swap parts easily. So that is how we try to achieve the modular system of this musical instruments. I think the most interesting thing is I discovered a hook and loop fastener is so useful throughout this project, because like the support workers can just tear it apart, put something else in. So as long as we got the collection of all those parts, we can change things around. Apart from this, also the shape, yeah, just like what I mentioned, the modular system, and then the shape of it. For now, this one on the table, this one is for the wheelchair user to use it. So we've got the handles on there. I'm not sure if I'm showing, just 1 second. Yeah, so we've got the handles there. We can just attach it to the wheelchair. This is one of the modules that we're building. And then you can see we've got 4 different tiles on it. So what we usually do for now is we are looking into individual tiles. So this is like each tiles. And you can combine as many as you want, like 10, 11, 12. It all depends on the ability or like the willingness of the participants, whether they want to have more tiles or not. And yeah, so that is the idea of the thing. And then we've got some TPU infill. We talk about, we explore into like the infill percentage to change the physical resistance of the musical instruments. So this one gives the first layer of feedback, the direct physical feedback. That when you push the thing, you got the reaction force that make it more realistic for the participants, especially when they are not very sensitive to normal, for example, iPad touching, just having the vibration. But this one is the physical feedback. So they know that they are pressing the notes. And also, we have the audio feedback. So as you can see, we've got the earbone conduction headphones for the user, because some of them may be far away from the sound source that when they are pressing. So we need to give them audio feedback to help them to understand that, oh, actually when I push something, something is happening, audio, in the sound world. So that is something that in our consideration, and also with the group feedback, because it's in the Joy of Sound, is a group music making setting. So facial expression from other people or from their support workers is all inside this feedback loop. And the technical part, again, is about the network. I think that one is the skeleton of this musical instrument. So seems complicated, but actually you can see we have different tiles at the very beginning. So that is the physical part, having different tiles. And then it's connection wirelessly, because we want to prevent the trip hazard in the setting. So that is very important for us as well. So we're using OSC, and then RF is for the audio feedback that when we are wearing onto the participants, because we want to make sure the latency is very little. So for now, it's less than 10 milliseconds, so which is quite good for the group music making setting. But we are trying to improve it, because at the end of the day, for now, we are just using ESP32, a very tiny microcontroller, low cost. But actually, we've got a Raspberry Pi doing all the heavy lifting. But as long as we just got one Raspberry Pi, you can connect up to 10, 12. I'm still testing the limit. Gets a lot of tiles you can connect it to without causing a very high latency. So which is ideal as a structure and skeleton of expanding this modular design. So yeah, and then still got some limitation on things. Definitely a lot of calibration going on. Just working with one group with 30 participants, already taking me a lot of time to do it. Hopefully, using AI to help a little bit with that one, to study more data about the consent. But that would be something that we are looking into. Strength of the magnet may be different when we order it. So we need to calibrate it manually for now. And then sensitivity of sensors, and still a lot of testing going on, because most of the time when we are having the music making session, as I mentioned, having fun is the most important part. I can't pull the participant aside and then force them to help me for an hour. So that is something that we are still working closely with Joy of Sound, doing it slowly, but surely we will get there one day. Yeah, and then some future development. So more interviews with Joy of Sound is happening, looking into how we can include non-verbal participants in it. More testing, calibration, and expanding modules. I think we got 2 new modules upcoming after, I think, March. Yeah, so we've got 2 new modules, small ones, and actually just using drum synth now. So we can play around a little bit of drum later on. And then also thinking about the environmental aspect of it, because 3D printing is not the best way now. So we're trying to find using recycled materials for the 3D printing, but still looking into maybe using wood or other materials to do it. So as long as it's safe for the participants is our goal. Yeah, I think yeah, that's more or less about my project. Maybe we can play a little bit on that to have a test on listening to the sound. So you can use very low muscle tone to trigger it. So when you push further, it should be sounding a bit louder. So every time the musical instrument, when we turn it on, it will calibrate automatically. So that can be kind of a little bit of custom made with the participant who is going to interact with it. So yeah, that's more or less about my project. And then if you got any questions, feel free to ask.
If you have a question, you can wait for Gio to pass the mic.
And do you think you? I thought. Wait, I thought I was causing that for a second.
No, that's not you. Yep.
I was going to ask more about the physical feedback that you mentioned, and
Yeah.
you used an acronym. It was T. It was a 3-letter acronym.
Yeah, the
beginning with T.
TPU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? Is this to do with how squishy it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about the squishiness of it. So the reason why I'm using 95 is just simply because it's easy to print. I don't want to cause a lot of failed printing. So that's why I'm using the 95. And then the other thing is, why is it in circle? Is because it can just make the force even. Because if you're in other side, you got the corner, and then the edge will actually too hard for the person to press it down. That's why all the support is actually in circular. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. I wanted to ask, how did you decide what kind of sound your instrument will produce? Did you ask the participants what sound to emulate, or?
Yeah, so the first consideration is whether it works well inside the music making setting. Because inside the workshop, most of the musical instrument is plug the strings, or we've got a little bit of bass marimba or harp. So most of them are quite soft, but for now we amplify it a little bit. So when it's in the group setting, it's softer. So when we are talking about it, we are thinking about, can we make some sound that's sound like the chimes, or softer, like a little bit of singing bowl, this kind of metallic but still soft sound, because it can blend in easier with the plucked strings. So that is the consideration. But of course, because that is more about a skeleton of a musical system instead of the audio synthesis itself. So you can basically put in different audio synthesis for it for now, because we're just programming it. So for the new modules that I'm playing around with, I just built a little bit of drum sound with it. So basically you can play different sound into it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Cheryl. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you.
When we were making an instrument this morning, we played about with the idea of separating the choice of sound and when it should be played, because it might be quite hard for someone to do it at exactly the right time. So we wanted to say, this is the sound I want, and I want it to be at that point in the sequence.
Yeah.
But pointing to a physical representation.
Yeah.
Of the. Have you tried that sort of thing?
For now, not yet, because in the music workshop, we are kind of live playing the whole thing. But I think that is something we can further develop as well, because I'm also looking into if we can build a control that for people to look into which sound they're choosing, and then directly put it into the musical instruments. But for now, it's working on the physical part, not yet there, but definitely something worth looking into as well, because we want to have choices when we are making music. Yeah, and that is something maybe lacking, especially for disabled people. Seems to be we are looking into functional access instead of allowing them to have equal rights. So that is something I want to pursue as well. Thank you.
I think we'll wrap up there. We have another round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Fabulous stuff. Yep. Is this working? Is this working? No, let me use this one.
Yeah.
Great. So we're just going to take a very quick 5-minute break while we set up for the next speaker, Gawain Hewitt. So talk amongst yourselves, and I'll be back in literally 5 minutes, and we'll have the next speaker. Thanks. Cool. That was great. Well done. Really good. Really good. Really good. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, no, don't worry. This one is working. Yeah. Yeah, all good. All good. You? Yeah, it's all going well. What do you need? Cool. There's your mic, anyway. I'll intro you and call you on stage.
Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Me to intro you and say how amazing you are while you're standing right next to me.
Maybe just, always have a knife on stage.
Yeah, always. Why wouldn't you?
Do something else. Yeah, no. I didn't bring anything else with me.
Okay, because this looks different. Oh, anyway.
This is it. This is it. But I forgot to put any knobs on.
That's why it looks okay. That's what's
So
good.
it actually hurts. Although I've got a Mark 1 in my bag, so maybe I'll stick some knobs with that. There's a mini jack down here. This.
Check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2.
We're just getting the video.
Have 2 jobs. Just like the supervisor.
So this is the instrument. So we've got these buttons at the bottom. These are different levels. So level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Obviously they've got colours. There'll be a picture up there. These, maybe that's everything you need to see, but I thought it might be helpful for you to see it.
Yeah, I'll keep it.
Yeah?
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Okay. Maria? Let me just use this one. Hello. There we go. Fab. So,
with just a small gesture. I mean, preaching to the crowd here, I don't really need to do this, do I? So there's lots of reasons why it's important that music is accessible, because people are excluded from music making, and you know, despite all the amazing thing that's happening here today, that is still the case. You know, it's still happening in schools, it's happening in homes, for lots of questionable reasons and lots of good reasons as well. You know, life's a lot. There's lots of competing things going on, and obviously music participation, as we all know, allows us to be with friends, to be part of community, to tell our stories. I think that's something I'm passionate about, is who gets to be a music maker, whose stories are being told. And that feeling that when you make music with other people, I just feel better. You know, that's really important to me. And that's what brings me back to being a musician again and again and again. I think it's important to say that there was a big academic study that underpinned this, that was commissioned by the Amber Trust and the University of Roehampton did, specifically around Batten's disease, which Amber Trust work a lot with children with Batten's disease. And so this project specifically has come out of that piece of research that recommended that we needed a device that was affordable and gesture operated to allow the type of children they'd been working with to access music broadly. And I guess I'm not an academic. There's lots of academics here, so you'll understand this better than me. But I guess what that's done is unlocked funding and resources. And as I said, I'm working with a team. That's not something I'm used to doing. So it's actually allowed us to have quite a long form view on the project, so that the project to be quite big and ambitious, but also to have many minds thinking about different aspects. So yeah, this report is available on the internet if you want to look it up. Yeah, just Google. It's called The Potential Role of Music to Enhance the Lives of Children and Young People with Batten disease. I'm not going to attempt to read the long form version of that right now. But if you have any questions, please do drop me a line and I can give you the link for that. Here's a picture of the Mark I, which I will quickly follow by a picture of the Mark II, which is literally in front of me here. So what is it? It's a box. But I'm going to demonstrate it now. I was hoping we might have a camera or something, but I'm going to have to point at the pictures and tell you what I'm doing, and I can kind of show you from here as well. So we've got two main areas that work. So anyone who's seen the Mugo before, or any other beam gesture instrument, the first mode is going to be very familiar. I'm going to turn the volume up, and we've got a beam here. I need that to be louder, don't I? And this is why we test things, because bugs are interesting, and that is definitely a bug. So I'm wondering if that's the stage light and the sensor I'm using going on there. This is something I know about through having used lots of distance sensors. So I'm instantly interested as to why that's happening. Let's see if that's still happening. No, okay, that's good. This is good. Okay, so I mean a bit of live testing there. I think those stage lights and the sensor were not playing nicely. That's something I'm going to have to go away and think about a bit more. So we've got a sensor here. This is a time of flight sensor. They're really affordable. I think this one was about £4. It's inside this 3D printed tube that allows it to go in a mic stand, or there's a thread on the bottom to go on a tripod, or any camera equipment, which is brilliant because you get all these clamps and things for cameras that allow you to put in all sorts of different directions. And then it's just tracking distance and turning that into music. We've then got a series of knobs. And the first one is the type of sound. This was one of the hardest things to do, actually. So this is, I know the last project was saying they're using an ESP32. I'm also using one. And it's got built-in sounds, and that proved to be quite hard, getting it to play polyphonic WAV sounds off an ESP32, I found quite difficult. There's maybe people in the room who'd find it easier than I did, but I found it quite hard. So you turn this knob here, the first one, which is the red one type of sound, and you get one of 12 sounds. Why 12 sounds? Well, one of the things that came up in testing, we built it alongside a load of people who were featured in that report, and we're using them for testing. And one thing was that blind accessibility for technology is often tricky. So we've gone for an interface that has 12 points on each physical control. So literally you click through 12 positions, and so you can learn where they are. So if it's, say, at 3 o'clock, I'm going to say it's bassoon. I don't think it is bassoon, but it might be bassoon. But you'd learn that, and that's where it is. So the first one gives you 12 sounds. Second one, 12 scales or modes. Then got 12 different. What does that do? Oh yeah, which root note? We've called that transposition. So which root note? What note are we starting on? And then we've got which octave and how many divisions. And then you've got the sort of beginning and end at the top. There's some sliders, you can't really see it, under main controls that give you minimum and maximum distance. So that's the closest point. And then it stops. So we've then got the furthest point as well. So they're set by these two sliders. So that's all quite straightforward. Nothing's really shifted much conceptually from anything before. I think the interesting thing is when you flick this little switch down, this is, for anyone who's making stuff, this was sort of awful and hilarious. I sort of spent ages and ages and ages designing my PCBs and doing all my design, and I guess at times feeling really insecure and like I wasn't good enough, and at other times feeling very clever and like I was like such an engineer and like smashing life. And then I put it together, and these, you can't really see, but you can see they're a different color. That's because I hadn't thought about the vertical positioning of these switches until I ordered a load of PCBs. And then I was like, oh dear, they're about like ½ an inch lower than they need to be. So I've had to sort of hack together this sort of little valley in the 3D printed case that allows you to get to the switches, which is really just not great. But it, you know, the show must go on and all that kind of stuff. But one of those allows you to move to this other section. And when I do that, and you can't see it on there, it says on the screen, please choose a sounds of intent level. So this is I think, the real key difference with this instrument is how closely sort of enmeshed it is with an education system. So from here, we've then got these 5 color buttons, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're all colored according to the sounds of intent level. And you press 1. So if I press 2, it now puts it into sound makers mode. That's a sounds of intent thing. And it loads up a backing track, and it also loads up the sound and sets most of these settings at the top. So it makes a decision as to how many divisions we're going to have. It doesn't set the minimum and maximum because that affects sensitivity, and that's something that I think needs to be bespoke. But I guess what we've tried to do is put a music leader into the box. And you've got, again, 12, it's always 12. You've got 12 different backing tracks together with these 5 levels that allow you to work at all these different points. Now, I feel like I've got a bit vague, so let's try and be a bit more specific about what they are. So, sounds of intent, I haven't got any, okay, well that'll do for now. This is a new book that's just come out around the sounds of intent framework, which is excellent. And in it are loads of pieces of music that have been composed, loads of schemes of work, loads of thinking around it. There's also an accreditation with Trinity College of Music that goes from pre-grades all the way up to grade 8 equivalent. And you can, so you can access all this stuff from within here just by pressing the buttons. And it's important to say that you can also do all this stuff with any other instrument, anything else that's being presented today. Anything can access these tools. This is not only for the Mugo, but I guess the Mugo does this very well. And it comes back to this idea that if you're sending an instrument home, it's trying to make it as easy as possible for a child to be able to access music making straight away. So maybe I should play some of that. I feel a bit nervous. Let's do it anyway. Which one should we do? Well, let's start with the sort of the ambient one. This is a pause while we wait for it to, yeah, there we go, great. Okay, so that's loaded. Let's see if that works. Ah. Well, I mean, maybe not. It's just a bit awkward, isn't it, I guess? There we go. So this is our backing track. Now, just to sort of demonstrate what actually is going on, we've got a balance between backing track and sound. So let's go to just sounds. And then these, hopefully, these should all be. And this is, I feel like I need to go back and have a look at the tuning of that. Just before I sent one out, there was something wrong, and I'm not. Do you know when something goes wrong and then you fix it, and then when you do it on stage, you're like, have I fixed that, or have I not fixed that? So I'm just going to leave that for to be confirmed later. But this is right at the beginning of the Sounds of Intent journey, which is that we're thinking about sort of intentional sound making as being the roots of, I'm saying that like I came up with this. I did not come up with this. This is not my idea. But this is the idea with Sounds of Intent that, but yeah, pre-music education, we do things that are about intentional sound making. And what about if we had a structured way of doing that and accrediting that and working with that? And so this goes at that level. And then at the very other, the other level, we've got the advanced music makers. And I'm on a setting here that says not available, so not everything's available for everyone. So I'm going to scroll through. I forgot to put a knob on these, so I'm turning these kind of things like a cog. They kind of hurt. There we go. So that should now be loaded. Great. Get the balance there. Oh, very dramatic. There we go. That is definitely not in key. Okay, that's a real lesson for me, isn't it? Make sure. That makes me wonder where I did the debug. I fixed that, and now I'm wondering which computer I fixed it on. I obviously didn't put it on the repo afterwards, so that's awful. I think it's like a full tone out or something like that. It's really bad, but it does sound good when it's in key. So I guess maybe that's the summary of it. I'd happily dig I mean, I've spent most of the last 18 months, and particularly the last 9 months, really deeply in C++, PCBs, sensors, that kind of thing. So I'm really up for having that conversation. But I think looking at timing as well, I should probably wrap up at that point and ask if there's any questions. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Someone else meant to be. Oh, yeah. Gio, thank you.
I was just curious about what's inside the Sounds Right book. If you could show an example of an activity and how you use it together with.
Oh, I wish I could. The Sounds Right book isn't my book.
We've got a Sounds Right book on the timetable if anyone wants to have a look.
Richard, who is one of the people in the team, thank you, Richard, has got one with him on the table over there. That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Richard. There you go. Go and have a look. Any other questions? Yeah, got one here.
And you showed us the first 2 levels of Sounds of Intent. Have you got things for the other 3 yet?
Yeah. So level. Oh, let's do that now. So this is. Yeah. Here we go. Oh, this one will be in key because it's drums. This is good. fun, actually, isn't it? I didn't mention it has built-in speakers and built-in power. So it's that's another thing that was quite important to us, is that it's completely standalone. Like we've obviously plugged it into the PA system for good reasons today, but it works on its own. But that was literally level 3. There you go. Yeah, we've got one here.
Yeah, I think you had a question about, so can I jump between notes? Because right now when I just distance my hand, then it means that I have to go through 5 notes to get to 1 or to 3. So it kind of messes with the music.
You'd have to come out of the beam and then up, and that is... I quite like the idea of there being like a sort of almost like a mute button, like something you could press to disable the beam. But yeah, you're right. That's with anything with a beam. I think that's an issue. But you can come out of it and in again. So, oh yeah. Well, that was a terrible demonstration, but it is possible. Yeah, I won't bore you with trying to do that. It is possible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh yeah.
It reminds me of a theremin, a little bit the way that you're interacting with it. Was that sort of something that you've thought about in the design process?
Yeah, I mean, the theremin, I mean, shout out to the theremin. I mean, that's got to be, what, over 100 years old? Or, yeah, Andrew's nodding, you'd know. It's astonishing that music technology that uses distance has been around so long. Theremin still works so brilliantly. Absolutely, I was thinking about the theremin, about the sound beam, about Rolf Hailhart's work back in the 60s and 70s, about stuff we did at DMLab sort of 15 years ago. Other people were making things. I've been kind of obsessed with beam instruments for a long time. There was also something, I think Apollo Ensemble, back in the sort of 2000s, where you could plug, actually it's a little bit like something you're going to hear about later, where you could plug different sensors into things, and they had a beam sensor. So yeah, all these things I was thinking about, yeah. Okay, do you want this
We might
one?
have 2 more questions, if that's okay.
No, I was going to comment. I've used Soundbeam back in the day with Drake. So one thing talking about the hand positioning is we ended up creating a sort of strip of markers so you could see where you were going to go. And the other thing we used to do is have people drive wheelchairs up and down in the beam, which was great fun.
I was just curious about why you went for the beam interaction. What's like the background to choosing to go for that kind of interaction for this instrument?
So the thing with beams, so me and Adam have both spent a lot of time facilitating work with disabled musicians, and I think for both of us, we've found that beam instruments are excellent for sort of quite initial and fairly universal access. So they're far from perfect. They're not in any way, I build other kinds of instruments, they're not in any way the right choice for everyone, the only choice for everyone, but in an education system, setting rather, they're just quite versatile and can allow you to quite quickly set up something that allows, if you come back to that idea that you're working with people who maybe have never been allowed to make an intentional sound before, so that work's not been done, work we do with babies normally, then you can set something up with a beam quite quickly that moves them from not making an intentional sound to making an intentional sound, and that can be the beginning of a journey that will probably lead somewhere else in the future, that they'll be like, well, actually, I want to play the oboe, or I've always wanted to be a guitarist or a DJ or whatever. But I think it was an accident. I didn't know Adam before this project, but we've both got quite a passion for those, and I guess it's also come from this piece of research as well. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Round of applause for amazing stuff. Thanks, Gawain. Great. Fabulous. So we are going to take another short break before our final presentation. Again, we'll be about 5 minutes. Steph Masucci will be coming in and presenting about clip sound. So yeah, again, chat amongst yourselves for a few minutes, and yeah, we'll be back in a few.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, man. That's great. It's a strange thing to do, isn't it, talking?
Yes, it is. But you know, it's all good. It is all good. Simon, yeah. So, what's your surname? Yeah. What's your surname? Keep. If I forget, just shout it.
You know, you can just say Simon.
Well, okay. I'll say Steph Fraser and Simon. That's easiest. Okay. In that case, let me get you a third mic as well. Yeah.
I think we're okay to share one mic between the three of us.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, we've each got a section. So,
okay,
yeah,
perfect. I'm just going to do a little bit at the beginning about the DMLab National Programme before introducing it.
Brilliant.
If that's all right. So, yeah, great. And I'll use that same mic probably as well. Are you kind of ready to go, or do you need to test anything?
The only thing we wanted to test is on the screen, which window is topped? Is it Ableton or the slideshow?
I think I can switch that when we start. That's fine, yeah.
Okay, but test sound and everything all good? Use that mic. Cool. Okay, we're good? Yeah, fab. Hello. Can you hear me? Is that working? Yes, that's working. Brilliant. Hi, folks. We're gonna start our third and final presentation of the afternoon, If you could take your seats, please. So this next presentation is a really exciting one. So DMLab, as I said earlier, has been going for, actually, Gawain tells me, 15 years or so. But last year, we were lucky enough to get a National Lottery Community Fund funding to expand the program much more widely. We think that this kind of work needs to be everywhere. Really, every town, everywhere should have this going so that everyone can get access to the instruments. And so we got this funding to expand our program nationally. That's how we're able to put this festival on. And so we are now running them in London and Manchester, which are our original ones. Gloucester is there. We're in Bristol, Colchester, which is Clip, and we're going to also be opening in Hull soon. So that means we'll have 6 around the country, and we're hoping that we'll further expand as time goes by. And so, yeah, I'm just going to introduce you to clip music from Colchester. Steph, Fraser, and Simon, who have been running the first year of DMLab Colchester, and they're going to tell you all about it. So, yeah, there we go. Welcome to the stage, please.
Hello. Yeah, so Clip, what is Clip? Clip, we've been running since 2015 in kind of one kind of form or another. And so, yeah, Clip is basically, yeah, what do we do? We're a social enterprise, we're a community, we're a weekly club, we're a sound and music collective, and hopefully like a third space for the people that we work with. This is one of our first ever project performances we put together, and it's called, based on Terry Riley, it's called In Sea in the Sea. So we create these sort of sound and music projects for young people of all sort of backgrounds, all abilities, all skill levels, and all experiences. And it's about collaboration and community, connecting with other people through music and sound. And that, I don't know, I guess that, people said it earlier, that kind of experience of playing music with other people and being involved in a group is really important. And it's a playful space where people can connect and explore together. We're into this idea of sound and music as something you explore and you curate, and you don't really kind of know what you're going to get out of it in the beginning, but it's all about, yeah, sort of having an open mind and sort of getting into it. So maybe it's for people that don't necessarily see themselves as musicians. So we like that idea of sort of breaking down kind of those barriers, and the idea that being a creative person is nothing to do with like a gift that you're sort of born with. It's all about like a skill, something you learn, something you can practice, and it's available and open to everyone. So yeah, there's a bit of a, lots of slides, lots of images, but I won't talk about them individually. I'll just go through them. So, also we're into this idea of tools and technology, helping people kind of build confidence, develop new skills, tools for learning. We, like everyone here, I guess, we really love technology, and we love how it, I don't know, it allows people to sort of experiment and sort of be curious and take part in music and experience that they might not necessarily have felt that it was within reach of them. But we really like sort of this kind of technology where, I don't know, it's like Fraser's really good at finding something and like, oh yeah, there's a really easy way we can kind of do this, and kind of we can run it in a workshop with a group of young people around sort of between 10 and 12, and they can all get it straight away. And I think it's really empowering and sort of opens people's sort of imagination to things. So, yeah, sort of more kind of stuff, kind of we're putting together, like, yeah, circuit bending, sort of musical robots. So I guess I haven't said, primarily we've been working with young people, teenagers, young adults, since about 2025. We also feel that people should be, should feel welcome and feel basically able to undertake and take part in anything that we're doing without any kind of form of judgment. and the fact that everyone is different. Everyone has their own way of making music, and that is what I feel. Well, we all feel that's what makes it kind of meaningful, making music. So we're really sort of, yeah, we like to be really sort of adaptive and help people discover the way that they want to make music rather than the way they think they should make music. So it's fun as well. We kind of embrace this kind of really playful approach to sound and music, encouraging like curiosity, sonic exploration, and this idea that just, I don't know, it's just sort of taking risks, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't work. You just have to have fun and find another way of doing it. Yeah. So that's basically clip sort of who we are and our sort of a bit about our values. But I'll pass you on to Steph, who's going to talk a bit more detail about the DMLab's work that we've been doing.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, so kind of building on all of that, we were so excited to have the chance to partner up with Drake Music to be able to set up a new DMLab in Colchester. So we launched in November, and that kind of launch session was quite a relaxed and kind of drop-in style session. So people could come in and try out kind of some different accessible instruments and software that's out there already and start to get an idea of kind of the possibilities that are out there, kind of rather than starting with a bit of an overwhelming blank canvas. It also kind of gave us lots of opportunity to have nice chats with people, get to know everyone, what they'd like to create. And we were really fortunate to have Tim from Drake Music attend as well and bring along some of the amazing Lab instruments. People really enjoyed playing those. So since then, we've met up once a month. And our current community is really varied in terms of their musical kind of experience and their tech experience. We have people who work in various technical fields. We have people who are professional musicians and people who are just kind of starting out that journey. They'd like to get into making music, but perhaps haven't had opportunities to do so before. We have some really lovely contributions from our community as well. Sometimes our members will kind of have small presentations within the sessions and kind of share their skills with us all as well, which is really lovely. People have been really generous with their expertise and, of course, kind of also listening to the lived experience of everyone in the room, people, again, who perhaps haven't had as much opportunity before to get involved in this kind of thing. In a little bit, Fraser's going to speak to you more about a circuit board that was kind of designed with the input from our DMLab group as well, and some of our other groups as well. And a lot of that process took place during 2 of our sessions. So we've had kind of 2 DIY MIDI controller sessions. We had a part 1 and part 2 with a little bit of a gap. These are some of our other session themes we've had so far. We tend to kind of have a bit of a theme and a structure, just because kind of that's been the preference of people, and also because we're still quite new, we're sort of trying out lots of different things, seeing what sticks. And also kind of we're hoping to kind of build that confidence and kind of knowledge across the group, and kind of lay a bit of a foundation so that people can have as much kind of autonomy as possible, kind of if we hopefully do start getting down to some more kind of tailored instrument hacking and making further down the line. We've also sort of looked at some things that are perhaps out there already for people. So we had an audio software kind of skill swap session. And we were discussing sort of the different options that are out there already, including ones that are free at the point of access, and those that have good accessibility features, like being compatible with screen readers. And that was really handy when we came back to our second session of building MIDI controllers, because more people in the room were kind of familiar with the software we were using along with the technology. And we also sort of had people who kind of picked up something new because people were kind of sharing their knowledge. So people kind of coming to a new software and finding that useful for their kind of songwriting workflow. One of the things we're trying to do as well is kind of breaking down that initial overwhelm of getting started with music making and with tech skills as well. It can be really daunting for anyone, but especially if kind of that's a space that's not been very accessible or has been perhaps not been very inclusive towards you in the past. That could be even more so. One of our members put it really nicely. They were speaking about how kind of building a MIDI controller in a DMLab workshop for the first time meant that they then felt confident to go away, kind of build their knowledge and kind of create their own prototype at home. And they were saying it was just a question of getting past that initial barrier, and then they were happy to go and build their knowledge. And because we do only meet up once a month, it's really nice when we are able to kind of perhaps introduce people to something that they're then happy to go away and kind of build on in their own time. So with that in mind, I wanted to share some of our participant projects that people have gone and made kind of following DMLab workshop sessions. So this first one I'm going to share with you was made by one of our brilliant members, Chris Dowding. And he shared a little bit about it with us. I'll just read out. He said, I made the sine waverer after attending a DMLab. I'm a trumpeter, composer and workshop leader, and I'm currently working on the MK Ensemble project in Norwich, an accessible electroacoustic group organised by Musical Keys and led with electronics improviser David Ross. We are currently working on the theme of micro-worlds with the group. I made the sine waverer to explore small sound phenomena like beating between pitches for the MK Ensemble. It has 2 sine waves with a button to play the sound and a knob to change pitch. I made a 2.0 version that also has a volume control. It's linked with Ableton, and I managed to adapt the code that we used in the DMLab sessions on making MIDI controllers. I hope to make a 3rd version of it using a movement sensor so that the pitch of the sine waves can be controlled by hand movement. So I'll just play a quick video of that. So that's the sine waverer that Chris made. So this is another one that was inspired by a clip session. So we had one that the theme was lights and music. So in the session itself, we kind of explored different ways that we can make music with light and the other way around as well, light with music. And one of our members also talked us through kind of stage lighting, and we had a really nice chat all together about what people might like to see out of a music-focused lighting rig and accessibility around that as well. Off the back of this, another one of our members programmed lighting to respond to MIDI sounds and sent us this. Just a warning, there are some flashing LED lights depicted in this video. yeah, that was another one that came out. And last but not least, so this was one that came out of the DIY MIDI controller workshop. I think it was the part 1. One of our members went away and made this. They converted a Bop It toy into a MIDI controller. See the mouse? There it is. So that's just a little bit about DMLab Colchester. I'm going to pass you over to Fraser now, who's going to talk about the MIDI breakout board.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Steph. So we've heard a lot today about some really wonderful instruments being built by some fantastic makers. Something that I think really we've found compelling as like facilitators when trying to do this sort of work inside a workshop setting is that it's either, a lot of the prototypes you're making are like breadboarding. So you're using tiny cables in these fiddly little boards, and it can be quite fiddly, frustrating. Wonderful when it works, but not always it does. Quite often, the next step with that process would be to solder, would be to either create a circuit board or to build something that is quite a lot of steps forward in that process and requires a lot of fabrication. Something we were interested in as a group is thinking about how we can create some technology that can exist in that middle ground between something that's prototyped but robust and can survive a show, like survive a performance. I've had lots of experience with things like Makey-Makeys. I really love using them, but crocodile clips are like the bane of my life. They're great when they work, but when they don't, they like slip out of your fingers, or they lose their strength and they kind of fall off. So they just don't stand the test of time. And so we were thinking about, well, what could we build that might act as, say, a brain for a MIDI controller build to allow you to kind of build it physically however you like, but could maybe help facilitate some of the computational side. And so, we ended up creating the MIDI breakout board. So this is a small circuit board about the size of a pack of cards. And as it stands at the moment, it has the capacity to add 4 potentiometers, so dials that you can turn. You can add 6 buttons and 1 ultrasonic distance sensor. What we thought about when building this circuit board was the design language that this circuit board could have. So quite a lot of the technology that exists with this is things like Arduinos or Raspberry Pis, and the language on those devices is written from the aspect of the engineer. So you're talking about your where you might connect your ground or where you might connect power, and then you have things like words like pins, GPIO, analog. Lots of terminology that makes a lot of sense if you're familiar with how to program it, but less so if you're maybe someone who has no experience of creative technology and instead is more about facilitating a musical experience. Your experience is more likely to be maybe on the software side in terms of the music software, or even more the performance side, but less so with the hardware. And so when thinking about that, when building this circuit board, we decided to lay it out differently. So it's laid out with the ability to plug in the components you want. So you plug the button in by taking the 2 cables from the button and plugging it into the 2 holes on the circuit board labeled button 1, button 2. So it's written from the language is written from that of the person who wants to make sound, rather than the engineer who wants to create the circuit board. Equally, the actual physical connections to the circuit board was a really interesting I should say all of this is still very much up for grabs. It's very much mid-development, what you're seeing at the moment. And we're really interested in understanding from people like yourselves what they would like to see. The device has screw terminals on the edges of it to connect the cables. So screw terminals require the use of, say, something like a precision screwdriver to unscrew, push your cable in, and then tighten back up. We did do a first version using crocodile clips, but you know how I feel about crocodile clips. I'm interested in exploring other types of connections as well. There's a really interesting trade-off, though, when you start to explore different types of connections. So by using something, say, like a Wago connector, if you're familiar with those, so there's like the little levers that you can prong upwards, slide your cable in, and then push the lever back down. Really nice to use because they don't require another tool, so that's quite nice. However, they are prohibitively expensive. So if I were to include those on the circuit board, it then would push the cost of that product up further, so a trade-off in a different direction. The other thing is a MIDI controller is wonderful and exciting, but it doesn't do much on its own. It's really, what are you connecting it to? What is it controlling? So quite a lot of the projects that we have seen today have like an on-board sound-making element, which is fantastic because it requires no other accessories. What we're used to seeing in some performance environments is MIDI controllers connected to a laptop. So that might be something like a launch pad with lots of various colorful buttons, a keyboard interface adorned with knobs and dials as well. A lot of the heavy computation is taking place on the computer, on the software, things like Ableton, FL Studio, etc. So when we're thinking about designing a MIDI controller breakout board, what do we need to consider in terms of the software side? Should we be providing templates in those sorts of DAWs so that if you have no experience of the software side as well as the hardware side, you can still get started with that as well? So that's something else we're thinking about. So some of the things we've been doing with our circuit board is using it in workshops, lots. And for me, as someone that makes technology, the most fun I can have is to build a thing and give it to someone and say, what do you want to do? And you just get to see someone go in a completely different direction to what you expected. So up in the top left of the images, we have in Colchester, one of our youth workshops takes place in a youth services space with a drum kit that is on its last legs, but it has a kick pedal, and someone put one of the ultra distance sensors on the beater of the kick pedal, and we're just kind of like slamming that into the back of a chair to get some MIDI CC to kind of control the filter sweep on a synthesizer. But all of a sudden, they now had their hands free to do everything else because they could be using their foot to control parts of the, the filter sweeps. Very cool. The distance sensors, I've really enjoyed playing around with those recently, and the bottom image is from an interactive tapestry that I did recently in Pitsea, where we used sounds from the market, and we kind of put them all over this tapestry made of objects from the market as well. And you could kind of dance and swing your arms around in front of the tapestry to, again, control sounds inside of Ableton. That was a sort of a variation of this circuit board where I could have multiple distance sensors connected. And for me, as someone like building technology, that's been a really lovely thing of this project, is I've now got like a set of files that I can really quickly iterate on to kind of go and do a different project, because I've got something to build a prototype from really, really quickly, which is very fun. And it means I can kind of go from an idea to the thing on the table in fewer steps, which means I'm more likely to do it as well. And then there's one other video I'll show you as well from a workshop we did recently. And this was using another distance sensor, but the spokes of a bicycle to trigger MIDI inside Ableton. Really nice and simple, but just have a lovely kinetic energy to it as well. Thinking about what if it's not even a person playing it? What might that look like? So something we're thinking about next in the project is how do we develop it further? So I've got rigged on the table here like a demo build as kind of what I imagine something might look like. So what we'd love to create is a circuit board that people can then use to build whatever they want. And so this is just an example of whatever you want. So I've just got a nice big button on the front, temperature on the side, a distance sensor on this side, and they're all rigged up. It's very neat. It's not normally this neat. This is quite neat for me. But this kind of allows me to then quickly create a fully custom MIDI controller that I can then open up Ableton and run. And I'll do that in a second. But I think what I'm really interested to explore next is what's like the minimum viable product with this. what might be the minimum amount of buttons or potentiometers or joysticks or distance sensors? What's the kind of perfect combination of all of those different sensors? I doubt there is a perfect combination because it's so contextual as to whatever it is you want to build, but what's a good base layer to start from in terms of not offering people too much choice, because we know that can be overwhelming, but enough whereby it allows them to achieve whatever it is they want to musically. And how many of each of those should we provide as well? So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna do something live, and let's see how that goes. Not very well. So as I was saying before, with MIDI controllers, it's as much about what it's doing on the computer as the device itself. So Ableton has a great feature where you can assign your sort of component, your MIDI signal, to an action. So here I've got a potentiometer on the side mapped to my filter frequency. It's probably just behind Simon's head. Over here on the far left, and that's changing the... And on the other side of the device, I have a distance sensor, and that is controlling the reverb, which you can see with the wet-dry signal. There you go. Thank you very much. Yeah, happy to take any questions if anyone has them, for either myself, Steph, or Simon.
Hello, sorry I keep asking questions. What have you used, like a development board, or what computer chip are you using on your MIDI board thing?
Great question, thank you. Yes, at the moment it's an Arduino Pro Micro. Or not, it's not one of the official ones, shall we say. It's the ones that are like £8 on Amazon. I would really like to move it from Arduino to like a Raspberry Pi, like a Pico environment, because then I can use CircuitPython. Also, I can then look at embedding the chip into the circuit board itself, so it doesn't require the header pins, and it means I can shrink the size down a little bit smaller as well. And especially with Arduino's move around the open source nature of what they will and won't allow you to do if you want to sell something, is maybe, nervous. So I'd rather move to Raspberry Pi as a result of that as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amazing stuff. Lovely, thanks folks. Great. Great. So that's our last presentation of the afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed them. One thing about the DMLab program is that the idea of it is that each centre develops its own character and its own activities, and because as we've seen today, there's just an enormous range of stuff that's getting made and getting done, and we really just want to make sure that it's not a franchise operation. It's more just a kind of connection and community building thing, and trying to get as much of the cool stuff and all the cool people who are making the cool stuff talking to each other and knowing each other and kind of communicating. So that's the idea. We're always looking to expand. So if you might be interested, do come and talk to us. So before we move on to the evening, there are a couple of things I want to cover. First of all, as part of the evening gig, we have got Deaf Rave bringing with them their Ouija vests. If you don't know what Ouija vests are, they are haptic vests that enable you to physically experience the sound of the performance. The vests are going to be here, but we're also running a little research project that goes along with them. They are really cool, really great to have a go on, but we need people to be part of the research project, and we're hoping that you will be those very people. If you're interested in that, just having a go on the vest, it's very easy. It's very, you wear the vest and then ask us some questions afterwards. It would be great if you're interested, please do sign up. The sign-up sheet is on the bar over there. And then they will be here. You'll see them in the evening. If you're staying for the evening, you can go and approach them, and they will set you up with the vests and talk you through. They really are cool. So I would highly recommend you give those a go. What else have we got? We do need to clear this room out reasonably quickly because we have to do sound checks for the evening gig. Hopefully, most of you, if not all of you, are staying for the evening gig. It's going to be a great one. We've got some amazing performers. We've got an amazing DJ performing through the night. Do please talk to the DM team, talk to the presenters, talk to Clip Music, talk to everybody, make friends amongst yourselves, but more or less everybody here is doing something cool and interesting, and so the more that everybody gets to know each other, the more we build a community of people doing this, the better it's going to be and the more cool stuff happens. So please do that. So I think I'll finish there. Can we please just have one more round of applause for our amazing presenters this afternoon? Fabulous.